Hello students, this is Pavani from Pharmaceutical Engineering Department at B.V. Raju Institute of Technology. Today I am going to take a topic on principles of microbiology and biochemistry, and the topic name is lipids. So coming to lipids, lipids are a kind of food source, like it is available in the food. Whatever the excess glucose, carbohydrates which we are taking through the food is stored in the form of lipids in our body, and these lipids are utilized when there is need of fat or when there is need of glucose in the blood. And the lipids are organic compounds which contain carbon as in their main structure. Along with carbon, it also has hydrogen and oxygen atoms in its structure, and it is a functional it is helpful in the structural orientation and also functioning of many of the living cells. Considering human beings as well as other animals, it is considered as structure and functional unit of living cells. And it is non-polar in nature, so as it is non-polar in nature, it is lipophilic, and it is not dissolved in many of the hydrophilic solvents. It is dissolved only in the lipophilic solvents. As water is polar solvent, it is not dissolved in the water, and it is available in the human body. The main cellular constituent are phospholipids, and the majority of our body cells are made up of phospholipids, which is a part of lipid, and it is also synthesized in the body liver, our body liver, and it is available in the different food sources like milk, cheese, fried fruits, and red meat. So this is the cell structure which contains of phospholipid bilayer, and it has polar heads and non-polar tails. These long chain tails contains carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen, as well as in the head we have oxygen, carbon, and hydrogen. So these are the sources of food where we get lipids. Coming to properties of lipids, lipids are oily and greasy and non-polar molecules. They are stored in adipose tissue of our body. As I already mentioned, whatever the excess carbohydrate we take, it is stored as fat in adipose tissue of our body, and it is heterogeneous group. Heterogeneous group is nothing but which contain various types of atoms, as it contains carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, phosphorus, many other atoms. We call it as heterogeneous group of compounds, and it mainly contains, main structure of the lipid is made up of hydrogen and carbon chains. They are energy rich organic molecules which provide energy for the different life processes, and this class of compounds are characterized by their solubility, and they are insoluble in water because the fatty content is soluble only in the non-polar solvents. And lipids play a significant role in majority of the biological processes, and mechanical barrier dividing a cell. During the division of cell also, lipids plays a major role, and it also protect the cell from external environment. That as I have already shown in the previous slide, it forms the cell membrane by forming a phospholipid bilayer. So it protects the internal organs or internal organelles of the cell from external environment. Classification of lipids. We have three classes of lipids: simple lipids, complex lipids, and derived lipids. Lipids are important source of life as they play a major role in majority of functions, and they are available in the form of fatty acids, triglycerides, glycerophospholipids, sphingolipids, as well as steroids. These fatty acids are the main energy source for different functioning of cells. Triglycerides are part of fatty acids. Glycerophospholipids, sphingolipids are present on the surface of cell membrane, and steroids acts as hormones. Coming to classification, if we start discussing in detail, simple lipids are classified as two categories, that is natural fats as well as waxes. Conjugated lipids or complex lipids are classified as phospholipids, galactolipids, and lipoproteins. Derived lipids are a category of lipids which are derived from the metabolism of simple and conjugated lipids. They are substances which are obtained by the hydrolysis of lipids. So let's start with simple lipids. We have two categories of simple lipids as we already discussed, fats and waxes. So the major simple lipid is like triglyceride, which consists of glycerol as main portion, as well as it is attached with 3 fatty acid chains by forming a ester linkage in between glycerol and fatty acid. So this is called as ester linkage, that is R C double bond O R. So there is a formation of ester linkage between glycerol as well as fatty acid chains. You can see the GIF. So as you can see, one glycerol molecule is attached with the 3 fatty acid molecules. This is considered as triglyceride. Tri is nothing but 3 fatty acids attached to one glycerol molecule. Waxes are formed by combination of fatty acid with a long chain alcohol. You can see there are 29 carbon atoms in this long chain alcohol. This length of the chain is not defined. Any long chain alcohol, when it combines with a fatty acid, it can form a wax. Coming to compound lipids, we have phospholipids, glycolipids, and all these phospholipids has a polar head and non-polar tail. As we already discussed, it is the major structural organ or like structural unit of the cell membrane, and this phospholipids yields fatty acids when it gets hydrolysis or other reactions. It yields fatty acids, glycerol, amino alcohols, sphingosine, phosphoric acid, nitrogen containing alcohols upon hydrolysis. Glycolipids are present on the cell. You can see there are many other types of lipids which are present in the cell membrane. That is, glycolipid is one of the category. Along with that, we have different other compound lipids such as glycoprotein, globular proteins, carbohydrates. All of them are considered as compound lipids. Next, we have derived lipids. Derived lipids are formed by the hydrolysis of simple lipids or compound lipids, and this derived lipids, we have few examples. It includes fatty acids, glycerol, sphingosine, and steroid derivatives are considered as derived lipids. Our body possesses chemical messengers known as hormones, which are majorly considered as steroids. These hormones can be circulated in the blood circulation to pass the message from one cell to other cell, and this steroids contains 4 ring structures, in which we have a 6-membered ring in 3 of the 6-membered rings in 3 of the ring structures, and 5-membered ring in 1 ring structure. And they are helpful to trigger and hinder many of the desired processes happening in our body. As you might have heard, thyroid hormone and insulin, all of them are considered as hormones. And steroid is a kind of hormone that is recognized, as I already said, it contains a tetracycline. Tetra means 4 cyclic structures with a 6-membered fused ring and 5-membered ring. And the major functions of lipids, it is helpful in the storage of energy, as I mentioned, like whenever we require extra energy during running or during any other extra workload, these lipids are utilized as a source of glucose and they are energy source. They helps to protect the skin or other major organs. The cells which are formed protects the other major organs by acting as cushion, by supporting the internal organ. And the cell membrane structure is majorly formed by phospholipids, and it is also helpful in the transport of fat soluble vitamins A, D, E, K. These are considered as fat soluble vitamins. These are circulated with the help of fatty acids. Hormones and signaling molecules are formed by lipids, and vitamin D, sex hormones, bile and prostaglandins are also considered as fatty, like lipids. And regulation of appetite and satiety, like hungry, is also controlled by the availability of lipids. So coming to fatty acids, as we discussed, fatty acid is a long chain structure which is attached to the carboxylic acid. It contains carbon and hydrogen molecule in its structure, and these fatty acids contain 4 to 36 carbon atoms in its structure. The hydrocarbon chains are available in the form of saturated or unsaturated form. Saturated contains single bonds and unsaturated contains double bonds in its structure. So This is the basic structure of saturated fatty acids and unsaturated fatty acids. You can observe all single bonds in this saturated fatty acid and double bond in the unsaturated fatty acid. If you add any other compound to this fatty acid, there is more chance of binding at the unsaturation compared to the saturated fatty acid. Next, the major role of biological role of fatty acids is, as we discussed, it is helpful in the storage of energy. It forms major cell membrane composition. It is helpful in the transfer of signals by using hormones, and it is helpful in the protein modification. It is helpful in the inflammation and health during disease conditions. It can regulate the inflammatory conditions, and it forms a composition of hormones as well as lipids. So let's discuss key points. In this presentation, we have discussed what is lipid and what are the types of lipids. There are three types of lipids, that is simple lipids, compound lipids or complex lipids, and derived lipids. And we discussed properties of lipids and their major functions. After this, we discussed what is fatty acid, classification of fatty acid, that is saturated fatty acids and unsaturated, and at last we discussed functions or biological roles of fatty acids. Thank you.
Like, share and subscribe. Hit the bell icon for more updates.